A lot of Americans come here and say they want to experience the real Dominican Republic. They want the culture, the music, the neighborhoods. They want to go where the Dominicans go. Then when it's time to eat, that's when everybody gets real conservative. Let me just get the chicken. Do they have hamburgers on the menu? What about them chicken tenders? Wait, you said goat? And don't let nobody mention tripe, and it's over. But some of the food that tells you the most about Dominican Republic aren't necessarily the foods that tourists know. Everybody knows mangú. You've probably had tostones. You know rice and beans, of course. And you've probably tried mofongo. But there's another level of Dominican food that you start discovering once you spend more time here. The food that people make at home. Some of the food that you'll find at a comedor. Some of the dishes that show up when families get together. And I've learned the difference between eating Dominican food and understanding Dominican food. So today, let's talk about the Dominican foods that Americans and some foreigners overlook, don't know about, or just simply scared to try. And we're gonna start with the big ones. Mondongo. If you're Dominican, you already know. And if you're an American and you don't know what Mondongo is, I'm about to tell you. And let's not confuse Mondongo with mofongo. They're two different things, trust me. But don't turn your video off, because Mondongo is a stew that's made from tripe, which is the lining of a cow's stomach. See? I know some of you have already made that face, and that's exactly the problem. Because sometimes we decide whether we like something or not way before we even taste it. Properly paired Mondongo is rich, seasoned, and loaded with flavor. At least that's what they tell me, because I hadn't tried it. Yes, the texture is different, and I'm not gonna tell you it tastes like chicken, because it doesn't. But living abroad has taught me something that's important. You can't experience another culture by always asking that culture to stay inside your comfort zone. Sometimes you gotta try Mondongo. This one here is tough for me because I haven't tried Mondongo yet. But people tell me, Jay, but you eat chitlins. You could try Mondongo. Yeah, I don't know. I do eat chitlins, I'm not gonna lie. But chitlins is the intestines, Mondongo is the lining, which I don't know if that makes a real difference. Maybe because Mondongo smells terrible. Worse than chitlins to me. The next up is Sancocho. Now, I know most foreigners probably know about Sancocho, but I don't think they really understand what Sancocho represents. You could look at it and say, Jay, oh, I know what that is. Sancocho is just a stew. Nah, Sancocho is an event. Family gatherings, celebrations, weekends, rainy days. Sometimes Dominicans can be hanging out all night and someone just suddenly decides, hey, we need a Sancocho. And depending on who's cooking it, you're getting different meats. Some people put beef, some people put pork, some people put chicken, some people put all three. Sometimes it's plantains, sometimes it's yuca, yaltia, and other ingredients all cooking together. But what makes Sancocho special is not what's inside the pot, it's what's happening all around it. Music, family, friends, conversations, somebody telling the next person, hey, Tia, you cooking it wrong. And that's what I love about it. Sometimes food here isn't something that you eat just to get back to the gathering. Food here is part of the gathering. Now the next one I think some Americans can get behind, and that's Pastelón de plátano maduro. Me personally, I like that. Oh, I forgot to tell you, I love me some Sancocho as well. Pastelón de plátano maduro is sweet plantains, seasoned meat, and cheese all layered together. And if you've never had sweet plantain with seasoned meat, you may be thinking to yourself, Jay, I don't know about that combination. And I'll tell you, stop thinking about it, just eat it. The sweetness from the plantain works very well with the salt, savory meat, and richness from the cheese. And as someone who cooks, this is what I can appreciate about Dominican food. Great food doesn't always have to be complicated. Because you know my tagline, I'm not a chef, I just cook a lot. Because sometimes you just need flavors that understand each other. And Pastelón understands exactly what it's doing. And that's another food that I enjoy. So far, for me, we're 2 out of 3. So let's move on to Locrio. And you may just say, Jay, that's just rice with meat. Because I know some people call it chicken and rice. But that's a disrespectful term for Locrio. I wouldn't say that too loud around Dominicans. You have chicken, pork, sausage, seafood. There are different types of locrio. And what makes it work is how everything cooks together, allowing the rice to absorb the seasonings and flavors from the meats. So the rice isn't sitting on the side as a side dish. The rice is part of the dish. And this kind of everyday Dominican food can be overlooked by tourists because it's not as flashy. But sometimes everyday dishes tells you more about the country's food culture than the famous one. And so far, out of the ones we've mentioned, Locrio is my favorite. Locrio de chuleta. So now we're 3 out of 4. Now here's one that may surprise you, and this is Kipe. When you think about Dominican cuisine, you don't immediately think about a Middle Eastern influence. But Dominicans' adaptation of Kipe, which is how they say it in Middle Eastern, I hope I said that right, it was brought to the country through Middle Eastern migration. And I love stories like this because it reminds you that food has histories too. People migrate, they bring their foods, the ingredients change, the names change, and then local culture puts a spin on it. And then eventually a dish that was originated thousands and thousands of miles away becomes part of Dominican cuisine. Sometimes when you're eating food, you're literally eating the history. And quipes is another one that I enjoy. But I would say this, not every quipe is created equal. I would say that. So now, I think we're 4 out of 5 now. Then you've got yaniqueque. I know y'all saying, who is yaniqueque? This one here is a simple fried dough. It's typically associated with beach areas, but you can also find them in the city as well. It's nothing fancy, but get one that is freshly fried and you'll understand why simple doesn't necessarily mean bad. And that's another mistake that travelers make. We assume that our best food experience is gonna happen at some high-end restaurant, when in fact, sometimes it's just something that's fried on the side of the road. That place doesn't have reservations, it doesn't have valet parking, it might not even have an Instagram. But guess what? 5 years later, that's a food that you're gonna remember. And yaniqueque is another one of my favorites. So now we are 6 out of 7. I think I'm keeping up. Okay, Americans, stay with me on this one here. Habichuelas con dulce, sweet beans. I already heard somebody say absolutely not, because we're used to beans being savory. And I'm gonna tell you, that was my first reaction. Hell no. I'm not eating any sweet beans. I'm from the South, and beans are not sweet unless they're baked beans. But here's what they'll do. Somebody will hand you some beans prepared with milk, sugar, spices, sweet potatoes, raisins, and some little cookies. And I'm gonna tell you, my brain did not know what category to put this in. But habichuela con dulce is not just a dessert. Not to Dominicans. It's deeply connected to Dominican traditions, surrounded by lenta and Semana Santa. And that's when you stop asking yourself, is this how we eat beans back home? Of course not. You're not back home. That's the point. And I already know the raisins, that's gonna start arguments in the comments below. And I gotta be honest with you guys. I've been here 5 years and I still haven't tried habichuela con dulce. I just can't wrap my mind around sweet beans. So where are we now? 6 out of 8? Let's keep going. Now let's talk about Chivo guisado, which is stewed goat. Now, many Americans eat goat depending on where they're from and their cultural background. But for many of us, this is not something that's regularly sitting at your dinner table. And here, that's different. Properly seasoned and slowly cooked goat can be incredible. At least that's what they tell me. I haven't tried this one either. And this dish also introduced tourists to something that they could be possibly missing, because Dominican cuisines have regional differences, because different parts of the country can be known for different foods and different ingredients. And that's when exploring Dominican foods become interesting. So instead of saying to yourself, I've tried Dominican foods, start asking yourself, what do people in this part of the country eat? That right there is a much better question. And as I mentioned, haven't tried this one either. So where are we now? 6 out of 9? I think my batting average is at about 66%. I think that is good. And I'll tell you, one of the biggest things I've probably learned is my best food experiences haven't happened at a high quality 5-star restaurant. They mostly happen in these neighborhood spots, comedores, roadside restaurants, somebody's house. Somebody says, Jay, you need to try this place. You pull up and you look at the building, you like, Are you sure? But then the food, it's incredible. When you're visiting for 5 days, you're trying Dominican foods. But when you live here, you have your favorite places. You know where you like your pollo guisado. You know who makes rice the way you like it. You know where to get your favorite chicharron. And you definitely know which places you're never going back to. And eventually, I stopped saying, let's go get some Dominican food. I now say, let's go get something to eat. And that's when you know the relationship with the country for you has changed. And that's why I really wanted to make this video. It's not about the Mondongo. It's not about the Sancocho. It's not about the Pastelón de plátano maduro. It's about when you allow another country to be a part of your life. When I came to Dominican Republic, there were a lot of things that were unfamiliar to me. The language, the food, the customs, how people socialize, how families interact, the pace of certain things. And when you're new somewhere, there's this temptation to judge everything based on what you're accustomed to. We don't do it like that. That's strange. Why would anybody eat that? But eventually, you'll start to realize, I didn't come to Dominican Republic to become America for me. I came here to build a life. And part of building a life somewhere is allowing that place just to change you a little bit. You don't have to love everything, because I don't. There's still some foods that I'm gonna say, hey, you can keep that, and that's okay. But at least I understand it. I've experienced it. Maybe not going into my stomach, but I experienced it. And sometimes some things that you thought you would never eat will become some of your everyday cravings. Like me, I never thought that I would eat bacalao or enrique because it looks disgusting in the supermarket, but it's delicious. And that's when I really realized that I've been here a while. So next time you're in Dominican Republic, get your mangú, get your tostones, enjoy your mofongo, but don't stop there. Go somewhere local and ask them, what should I try? And when they tell you, don't start interrogating them about every single ingredient, because sometimes you might want to find out afterwards, like I did the chimi, which is not on this list. I ate me a chimi before I found out what type of meat it was, but I loved it. And to be honest with you, I don't know if people telling me the truth or not, but to this day, I love me a good chimi, because sometimes the food that you almost didn't order becomes the food that you cannot wait to eat again. Now, I need all my Dominicans in the comments, tell me what's one dish that all foreigners must try in your opinion. And give me the dish where you're looking at the foreigner like, you said you want to try Dominican food, here you go. Put that in the comments. And if you're interested in learning more about Dominican cultures and why they love colmados, watch this video right here on the screen, and it's gonna tell you why Dominicans love colmados.